You know what I hear all the time from my patients? They come in with their latest lab results, their A1C is higher than they want it to be, and they look at me and say, okay, what do I need to do? What extreme diet do I need to follow for the next 6 months to get this number down? And I tell them the same thing every time. You don't need 6 months of suffering. You don't need some radical, restrictive diet that makes you miserable. You need 5 foods used strategically starting today. And if you do it right, you can start shifting your blood sugar patterns within days. I'm Dr. Sarah Wilson, and I've been working with people managing their blood sugar for over 30 years. I've seen thousands of patients struggle with A1C numbers that won't budge, and I've also seen those same patients turn things around completely by making small, consistent changes to what they eat and how they eat it. The truth is, lowering your A1C doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require you to give up every food you love. It requires you to be deliberate, strategic, and body-friendly with your choices. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific foods that can begin to lower your A1C when you use them the right way. I'm going to explain exactly why each one works, how to incorporate it into your daily routine, and the common mistakes people make that sabotage their progress. And I'm going to give you a simple, repeatable framework you can start using today that will stack the odds in your favor. But first, let me explain something important about A1C. Your A1C measures your average blood sugar over the past 3 months. It's a snapshot of how your red blood cells have been bathed in glucose over that time period. So when you get your A1C test, you're looking backward. You're seeing the result of what you did 2 months ago, 1 month ago, 3 weeks ago. But here's the thing. Even though the test measures 3 months, the changes you make today start stacking immediately. Every single day that you stabilize your blood sugar, reduce your spikes, and smooth out your fluctuations, you're moving that 3-month average in the right direction. So yes, it takes 3 months for the full picture to show up on your labs, but the biochemical shifts start happening within days. You'll feel it before you see it on paper. Your energy will be more stable. You won't have those mid-afternoon crashes. You'll wake up feeling more rested, and when you finally get your next A1C test, you'll see the proof. Before I dive into the 5 foods, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I love knowing that people all over the world are dealing with the same challenges and finding solutions together. Blood sugar management is universal, and you're not alone in this. All right, let's talk about the 5 foods. Number 1 is leafy greens. And when I say leafy greens, I'm talking about a wide variety. Mixed greens, kale, spinach, arugula, bok choy, collard greens, mustard greens, Swiss chard, whatever you have access to, whatever you like, whatever fits your culture and your taste. Leafy greens are absolutely foundational to lowering A1C, and here's why. First, they're incredibly high in fiber. Fiber slows down the absorption of glucose in your gut. When you eat leafy greens with a meal, especially at the beginning of the meal, that fiber creates a buffer. It slows down how quickly the carbohydrates you eat get broken down and absorbed into your bloodstream. Your blood sugar rises more gradually, your pancreas doesn't have to release a massive surge of insulin, and over time that means less strain on your system and better A1C numbers. Second, leafy greens are rich in magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral that's absolutely critical for insulin sensitivity. It helps your cells respond to insulin more effectively. A lot of people with high A1C are actually deficient in magnesium without knowing it. When you eat leafy greens regularly, you're replenishing that magnesium and supporting your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. Third, leafy greens have almost no impact on your blood sugar themselves. You can eat as much as you want without worrying about spiking your glucose. They're nutrient-dense, low in calories, and incredibly versatile. Here's how to use them strategically. Include leafy greens in every single meal. Yes, even breakfast. I know that sounds unusual, but it works. You can sauté spinach or kale and serve it with your eggs. You can blend greens into a smoothie. You can have a side salad with lunch and dinner. The key is consistency. And whenever possible, eat your greens first. Start your meal with a salad or a serving of cooked greens before you move on to the protein and carbs. This primes your digestive system and sets you up for a smoother blood sugar response. Let me tell you about a patient named Helen. She's 67, came to me with an A1C of 8.2. She was frustrated because she felt like she was doing everything right, but her numbers weren't moving. When I asked her about her diet, she told me she ate vegetables, but usually just a small side at dinner. I told her we needed to make greens the star of every meal, not an afterthought. We added a big handful of spinach to her eggs at breakfast, a large mixed green salad before lunch, and sautéed kale with her dinner. 3 months later, her A1C was 7.4. She said she felt lighter, more energetic, and her digestion was better than it had been in years. Number 2 is eggs. Eggs are one of the most underrated foods for blood sugar management. They have almost zero direct impact on your glucose. They're high in protein, which stabilizes your blood sugar and keeps you full for hours. And the research shows that people who eat eggs early in the day, especially at breakfast, have lower blood sugar spikes throughout the rest of the day. Here's why that matters. When you start your day with a high-protein, low-carb meal like eggs, you're setting a metabolic tone for the entire day. Your body produces less insulin. Your cells become more sensitive to the insulin you do produce, and you're less likely to experience those roller coaster blood sugar swings that drive up your A1C over time. How to use eggs strategically. Eat them at your first meal of the day, whatever time that is. 2 to 3 eggs, cooked any way you like, scrambled, fried, boiled, poached. Pair them with leafy greens and a small amount of healthy fat like avocado or olive oil. If you're on the go, hard-boiled eggs are portable and convenient. Keep them in your fridge, grab them for breakfast or a snack. Just don't pair them with toast, pastries, or other high-carb foods that will spike your glucose. Let me tell you about Richard. He's 71, had an A1C of 7.9, and every morning he was eating oatmeal with fruit because he thought that was the healthy choice. His blood sugar would spike to over 200 within an hour of eating, and then he'd crash mid-morning and feel exhausted. We switched him to 3 scrambled eggs with sautéed spinach and a drizzle of olive oil. His post-breakfast blood sugar dropped to 120, and he stayed steady all morning. Within 2 months, his A1C was down to 7.1. He told me he couldn't believe something so simple made such a huge difference. If you're finding this helpful and you want more practical, science-backed health tips, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I create content to help you take control of your blood sugar and your health without relying solely on medications, and I'd love to have you here learning with me. Number 3 is fatty fish. I'm talking about salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, fish that are high in omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s are incredibly powerful for reducing inflammation, and inflammation is one of the key drivers of insulin resistance. When your body is chronically inflamed, your cells don't respond to insulin the way they should. Your pancreas has to work harder, your blood sugar stays elevated, and your A1C creeps up. Fatty fish also improve insulin signaling, which means your body becomes more efficient at moving glucose out of your bloodstream and into your cells, where it can be used for energy or stored safely. Study after study shows that people who eat fatty fish regularly have better blood sugar control and lower A1C levels. How much do you need? Aim for fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week. A serving is about the size of your palm, roughly 4 to 6 ounces. You can bake it, grill it, pan-sear it, or even eat it canned. Canned sardines and salmon are affordable, convenient, and just as nutritious as fresh. Just make sure you're choosing versions packed in water or olive oil, not soybean oil or other low-quality oils. Let me tell you about a woman named Claudia. She's 64, A1C of 8.1, and she told me she hated fish. She'd never eaten it growing up, and she couldn't imagine starting now. I told her to try canned sardines mixed into a salad with lemon juice, olive oil, and greens. She was skeptical, but she tried it. And she actually liked it. She started eating sardines twice a week, and within 3 months, her A1C was 7.3. She said she also noticed her joints felt less achy and her skin looked better. That's the anti-inflammatory power of omega-3s at work. Number 4 is fermented foods. This is one of the most underutilized tools for blood sugar management, and it's incredibly powerful. Fermented foods support your gut microbiome, and your gut microbiome plays a massive role in how your body regulates blood sugar. The bacteria in your gut produce signaling molecules that affect insulin sensitivity, glucose metabolism, and even appetite regulation. When your gut microbiome is healthy and diverse, your blood sugar control improves. When it's imbalanced, your A1C goes up. Fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, and traditional yogurt are packed with beneficial bacteria that help restore and maintain a healthy gut. They also contain organic acids and other compounds that directly improve glucose control. How to use fermented foods. Include 2 to 3 tablespoons of fermented vegetables with your meals. Sauerkraut on the side of your lunch. Kimchi mixed into a salad or served with dinner. Miso soup as a starter. Traditional, unsweetened yogurt with breakfast. The key is to choose versions that are unpasteurized and don't have added sugar. Pasteurization kills the beneficial bacteria, and added sugar feeds the wrong kind of bacteria. Let me tell you about a man named Vincent. He's 73, A1C of 8.5, and he'd tried every diet under the sun without success. I suggested he add sauerkraut to his lunch and dinner every day. Just 2 tablespoons. He thought I was joking at first, but he did it. 3 months later, his A1C was 7.6. He said his digestion improved, his energy was more stable, and he'd lost 8 pounds without even trying. That's the power of a healthy gut. Number 5 is resistant starch. This one is a little more nuanced, but it's incredibly effective when used correctly. Resistant starch is a type of carbohydrate that resists digestion in your small intestine and makes it all the way to your colon, where it feeds beneficial gut bacteria. It slows down digestion, smooths out blood sugar spikes, and improves insulin sensitivity. The best sources of resistant starch are lentils, beans, chickpeas, and peas. These are also high in fiber and protein, which makes them even better for blood sugar control. But here's the trick. You have to eat them in the right portion and at the right time in your meal. A lot of people overdo resistant starch. They eat a huge bowl of beans and then wonder why their blood sugar spiked. Or they skip it entirely because they're afraid of carbs. The sweet spot is about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of cooked beans or lentils per meal, and you eat them last, after your protein and greens. This ensures that the fiber and protein you've already eaten buffer the glucose release from the resistant starch. How to use it. Add 1/4 cup of cooked lentils to your lunch salad. Have 1/2 cup of black beans with your dinner. Make a side of chickpeas roasted with spices. Keep it small, keep it strategic, and you'll get all the benefits without the spike. Let me tell you about a woman named Evelyn. She's 69, A1C of 7.8, and she was terrified of eating any kind of carbohydrate. She'd cut out everything: bread, rice, pasta, beans, and she was miserable. Her energy was low, her digestion was a mess, and her A1C wasn't improving. I told her to add 1/4 cup of cooked lentils to her lunch every day, eaten after her protein and greens. She was nervous, but she tried it. Her blood sugar stayed stable. Within 2 months, her A1C was 7.2, her energy was back, and she felt like she could finally eat normal food again. Now let me tie all of this together with a simple, repeatable framework you can use starting today. The optimal order for fastest results is protein first, greens second, fermented foods third, and resistant starch last. Here's what a day might look like. For breakfast, you have 3 scrambled eggs with sautéed spinach and a side of sauerkraut. Protein first, greens second, fermented third. For lunch, you have a large mixed green salad topped with grilled salmon, a tablespoon of kimchi mixed in, and a quarter cup of chickpeas on the side. Greens first, protein with it, fermented food incorporated, resistant starch last. For dinner, you have grilled chicken or fish with a big serving of steamed kale, 2 tablespoons of sauerkraut, and a half cup of black beans. Same order: protein, greens, fermented, resistant starch. This framework works for prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and even reactive hypoglycemia. It works because it focuses on steady, controlled glucose responses instead of dramatic swings. It works because it gives your body the nutrients it needs to regulate insulin and glucose efficiently. And it works because it's sustainable. You're not starving yourself. You're not cutting out entire food groups. You're just eating the right foods in the right order. Let me tell you about one more patient. His name was George. He's 76, had an A1C of 9.1 when he first came to see me. He was on 3 different medications, and his doctor was talking about adding insulin. George was terrified. He didn't want to go on insulin. He wanted to try anything else first. So we implemented this exact framework: eggs and greens for breakfast, fatty fish, greens, fermented foods, and a small portion of lentils for lunch. Protein, greens, fermented foods, and beans for dinner. Every single day, no exceptions. 6 months later, George's A1C was 7.4. His doctor was stunned. He was able to reduce one of his medications. His energy was through the roof. He said he felt 20 years younger, and all he did was eat 5 foods, strategically, every single day. Now, let me tell you the common pitfalls I see people make. The first is overdoing resistant starch or skipping it entirely. Some people think, well, if a little is good, more must be better, and they eat a huge plate of beans and spike their blood sugar. Or they're so scared of carbs that they avoid beans altogether and miss out on all the gut health and insulin sensitivity benefits. Find the sweet spot, a quarter to a half cup, eaten last. The second pitfall is neglecting greens. People think, I'll just eat more protein and fat and I'll be fine. But without the fiber and magnesium from greens, your blood sugar control suffers. Greens are non-negotiable. The third pitfall is ignoring fermented foods. People don't realize how powerful the gut microbiome is for blood sugar regulation. Just 2 or 3 tablespoons of sauerkraut or kimchi with your meals can make a measurable difference. Here's the bottom line. You have 5 foods that, when used strategically and consistently, can accelerate your A1C improvements without extreme dieting. Leafy greens for fiber and magnesium. Eggs for stable, protein-rich starts to your day. Fatty fish for omega-3s and reduced inflammation. Fermented foods for gut health and insulin sensitivity. Resistant starch for controlled, beneficial carbs that feed your microbiome and smooth out glucose spikes. You don't need perfection. You don't need to eat this way every single meal for the rest of your life. But the more consistent you are, the faster and more dramatic your results will be. Small, steady improvements compound into meaningful, lasting change. I want to challenge you to try this for 2 weeks. Eat these 5 foods every day in the order I've described. Track your fasting blood sugar. Track how you feel. Notice your energy, your hunger, your cravings, and then come back and tell me what happened. If you found this helpful, drop a comment below and let me know which of these 5 foods you're already using and which one you're going to start this week. Tell me where you're watching from. Share your A1C journey, where you are now, where you want to be, and please hit that like button and share this video with anyone who's struggling with blood sugar or trying to lower their A1C. This information can change lives, and the more people who have access to it, the better. Also, I really want to hear from you about what topics you want me to cover next. What are you struggling with? What questions do you have about blood sugar, diabetes, nutrition, aging, metabolism, whatever it is? Tell me in the comments. I do my research, I dig into the science, and I make videos based on what you need to know. So let me know. Your input helps me create content that's actually useful and relevant to your life. The core message I want you to take away is this: Lowering your A1C is not about months of deprivation and suffering. It's about using foods that work with your metabolism, not against it. It's about emphasizing consistency over perfection. It's about tailoring portions to avoid overeating while still achieving satiety and satisfaction. It's about giving your body what it needs to heal and regulate itself. You are not broken. Your body is not failing you. It's just been missing the tools it needs to do its job. And now you have those tools. 5 foods, a simple framework, a repeatable daily sequence that you can adapt to your culture, your preferences, and your availability. This works for prediabetes. This works for type 2 diabetes. This works for anyone who wants steady energy, stable blood sugar, and a lower A1C. And it works because it's rooted in science, tested in real-world clinical practice, and designed to be sustainable for the long haul. Small, steady improvements compound into meaningful results. One meal at a time, one day at a time. You've got this. I'm Dr. Sarah Wilson. See you in the next video.